Patty.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Social Services Committee to order. We'll start with a roll call.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Fine.
Here.
Simpson is excused this evening. Rosano.
Here.
Fury.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Lockhart.
Lockhart?
He's here.
She's here.
McLaughlin.
She's kissing Paul.
Here.
Pearlie. And Chapman.
Here.
7 present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
Did I
you.
miss me? I'm here. Did you get me? I'm sorry. You were kissing Paul.
Okay, we'll start with number 1 on the agenda, the previous business, approving previous meeting minutes.
Make a motion, please.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and we're going to skip ahead to number 5 on the agenda. Since the commissioners are here, and then we'll come back to the other items. So, yes.
Item 5 is authorizing agreements regarding the 2023 Summer Youth Employment Program and amending the 2023 Department for Children, Youth, and Families budget. Commissioner Manning is here this evening.
Good evening, everyone. And we're looking at the summer youth employment, which OTDA provides the monies for that, for youth who are on the poverty line to get employment during the summer months. And we actually work with the DSS, and we want to amend our budget $50,000, 30 of which would stay within the department for operations of the summer youth employment, and then 20 would go to Cornell Cooperative Extension, who provides some, financial literacy, things like that for the youth on every Friday during the summer.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee?
Make a motion.
Ms. McLaughlin?
How many youth are in the program this summer?
We don't have a registration yet. We haven't received the applications. The City of Albany is a majority of the, youth served, but we also have a location in Waterville, Cohoes, as well as up in the Hill Towns and Ravenna.
So when do you get those numbers?
I should have them, I'm trying to think.
Because program will be over soon. Because is it coincide with the city program, which runs until I think the second week in August?
Right, correct.
So that's why,
Right. I can get those numbers for you.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
So, Commissioner, so you're saying that you don't have the youth yet?
Actually, I'm sorry, here's the numbers right here. The City of Albany, 207. Burned, I'm sorry, these are the TANF funded. So I can get you a full list.
Okay. TANF is
No, I was just asking, they haven't started yet.
They have started. I'm sorry, I
They
misspoke.
have. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because it's a 6-week program.
Right.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions? The motion?
Make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm not.
No, you're not on the committee. We need a second.
Carried away.
Sorry.
He likes it so much. He likes that program so much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous.
Item 6 is amending the 2023 Department for Children, Youth, and Families budget for administrative adjustments. Commissioner Manning.
Thank you. Yes, we were looking at purchasing a computer program that's called Traverse. However, things have changed since we put that into the budget because the Office of Children and Family Services is doing a version of Traverse, and we'll have it on the Connections program that we already use. So we didn't want to waste the money on something similar to what OCFS is going to be providing us. So what we want to do is help support our iPhones. Any caseworker or any field worker who's out in the field has access to an iPhone. It was a big commitment that we made, but to ensure safety and in the community and working with families. And they can also do a lot on the phone because the Connections program is transferred to the phone so they can do notes right in the field. In addition, they really need to have access to their supervisor. It would provide immediate access, and then they're not using personal cell phones, which, again, you can't have confidential information on it.
Ms. Lockhart?
Kudos, long time coming.
Yes,
I'm often worried about the workers out there in
Safety.
some of the places they're going to alone usually, with no escorts whatsoever, and no way of communicating back to, their office. So, and they shouldn't be using their personal phones, because everybody in the world's gonna know their number then, so kudos for finally getting there. Should have happened a long time ago.
thank you.
If there's no other questions, I make the recommendation approved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Item 7 is authorizing agreement between the Departments of Social Services and Mental Health regarding services for safety net and TANF applicants and recipients. Commissioner McClave is here this evening.
Hi, good evening. We're looking to renew a memorandum of understanding between DSS and the Department of Mental Health for assessment services for substance abuse for our clients that are in temporary assistance, or if they have an identified potential problem with substance abuse, we're required to have them fully assessed by professionals, and then they develop a treatment plan and make referrals to treatment if needed. So this is a continuing contract, MOU, that we've had with the Department of Health for many years, and this is a $250,000 contract.
Any questions? Mr.
If
Cleary?
there's no questions, I'll make a motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous.
Item 8 is authorizing an agreement with Equinox regarding residential domestic violence services. Commissioner McClave.
Yep, thank you. This is also to renew a contract with Equinox for residential domestic violence services to operate their in Albany County shelter. And this is up to 30 beds at this shelter and up to $700,000 depending on how many Albany County residents are assigned to that facility.
Thank you. Is this a new shelter?
Oh, no.
It's the
Yeah, they've
existing-
had the shelter for a long, long time.
Is the existing? I'm familiar with Equinox. I didn't know if they were opening a new.
No, this is
another
the
shelter.
continuing.
Okay, so it's the same
shelter.
amount of beds as,
What was the
Yeah.
dollar amount again?
700,000.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion approved.
Just a question.
Ms. Lockhart.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
I think last meeting, we asked about how many people were serviced last year, Mr. McLaughlin, with Equinox at the shelter. Mr. McLaughlin got back to us, and I think just for the committee's info, it was like 184, I think, that Equinox.
So it was
serviced.
148.
148?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little dyslexic.
Same number.
All right, good. I just wanted to make sure.
From
everybody-
Albany County.
Right,
Yeah.
right, more, correct.
Are there
Mr.
any-
Cleary, your motion. Sorry.
Motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 9 is amendment resolution number 162 for 2023 regarding the Home Energy Assistance Program. Ms. McClave.
Yes, we had been presented to the committee in May and asked for this contract to be renewed, reauthorized with Cornell for our independent certifier program, which we're required to have. And in discussions with Cornell, we jumped ahead of ourselves a little. In discussions with Cornell, they're really having trouble meeting the staffing that's needed for this program because the application numbers have gone up and the actual HEAP season keeps getting extended. So they've asked for a $20,000 difference in their contract from what we presented in May to make it $180,000, and they have not had any increase since 2016 in this contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Jumping back to the beginning of the agenda, I would skip to item 3. Items 3 and 4 are both tabled at the request of sponsor, and then moving to item 2, requiring a survey of the impact of newly arrived persons on the Albany County budget. This is Mr. Bergner's item.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please excuse my hoarse voice. Victim of a little sore throat this week. Yeah, I'm all good. when I put this legislation in, was June 29th. It was as a result of what had happened on Memorial Day weekend at the Sure Stay Motel on Wolf Road. Not from I totally respect our county executive and what he has done by not having an executive order that says people can't come. But he has an executive order that says that if people are going to come, they have to coordinate with the county executive so we know who's coming, for how long, etc. What we have seen happen in the last month has been absolutely dramatic. We have gone from the bad will that started at the beginning of the program, where people just drop folks off in my district, next to your district, without telling anybody anything. And all they dropped off was 24 people. At the same time, I think they dropped about 110, 120. Mike McLaughlin can correct me if you hear me say a number that is off significantly. Please say something. The original tranche was about 120, 130 in the city of Albany at 2 locations. Earlier this week, something really dramatic happened. Was the city of New York actually leased an entire hotel in Rotterdam, where there were Schenectady County social service recipients, long-time living. The hotel evicted all the local folks who were relying upon that domicile for their home in order to take, I think they're taking a couple of hundred, I think up to 400 people from New York City in Rotterdam. They did that without the county manager's knowledge, without the county administrator's knowledge, without the town of Rotterdam's knowledge, and hard to believe they even did it without our congressman's knowledge. So there was absolutely no respect for any municipal guidelines by the city of New York. And why is this important? Well, let me paint the last picture of that. Since that happened, I read in the newspaper today, and I've been keeping in pretty close touch with the county executive's office, although now I'm looking back at a conversation and maybe I didn't want to hear any more coming, but I read in the paper this morning that there are now 100 people in the Sure Stay Motel, and 50 of them are children. So we've gone beyond the single male homeless, homeless or migrant, and we don't know who these people are. I can't tell you if they're migrants or if they're homeless. We don't know if Mayor Adams is emptying out homeless shelters in New York City and shifting those people upstate and backfilling them with migrants. We have no idea, because nobody knows what's going on. Why is this important? New York City is on a track to take in 13,000 people a month. It's 150,000 people a year. Now, that's the track they were on for June. 13,500 processed through the Roosevelt Hotel. And those are just the ones that are going through the processing center. And, you know, it's kind of like the ground when it rains here. All the migrants that they have taken in so far, the ground is now saturated. there is not room for any more to come without them rolling off someplace else. And that's what New York City's strategy is now, is to outsource its homeless and its migrant population beyond their saturation limits. Now, this is also saturation for the summer, where they have lots, I think they have a great number of outdoor migrant facilities. What they're gonna do with those folks when it gets to October and November and it's 30 degrees and that sort of thing, I don't know where those folks are gonna go. But there was a quote, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it with me. My wife told me to bring it with me twice tonight. And it's something along the lines of a quote from Mayor Adams that says, "Get ready, the migrants are coming to your neighborhood." Yes, I mean your neighborhood. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, not deciding whether I'm pro-migrant or anti-migrant, but we as a county are getting people. Now we're up, I would say, Mike, 600, good number?
We're over 500.
Over 500. Well, I know we got 100 in Colony, and that's, we
We're
went
now
up.
over 500. Last check-in, which unfortunately was longer ago than we were comfortable with, some left. So
Okay.
we're over 500.
Yeah, I read something that said 21 of the original 24 were still at the sure stay, and then they added another, 50, or that now is up to 100, and 50 of them are children. But I don't know anything that I don't get reading the newspaper or get from Mike. So if the county has to, or if New York City has to shed 13,500 people per month, these are undoubtedly going to go everywhere in the state. Why am I asking you to track the expenses of the county? We know so little about this population. We can't even tell you, or no one's been able to tell me, what our responsibilities are. New York City, I've heard they're gonna pay for them for 90 days. I've heard they're gonna pay for them for 120 days. I've heard they were gonna pay for them for 180 days. Nobody knows. I'm not sure if we know what's true or not true, Mike? Yeah, but I want to finish my thought.
See, throwing out a lot of facts here you're throwing out a lot of numbers. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's perfectly all right. I want you to question me.
You can speak.
No, I
Paul,
mean,
why don't you finish?
Let me finish. Okay, and then.
Wrap up quick, because we have other people that want to.
Okay, sure, absolutely. We don't know who these people are. There are some regulations that say that people with children under 6, if they present for services, you have to give them services immediately. I don't know how that works if New York City is paying for them. I know how it would work if New York City stopped paying for them. They will start being the responsibility of the Albany County Social Service Department. So what I'm trying to figure out, and how I came up with these reporting dates, is I asked for 90 days after it became law, 120 days after it became law, 150, 180, and then quarterly. So we could see if there were demonstrable jumps in our social service census. Remember, every program's on a separate line. You may not know that every individual comes from this population, but if the rise in SNAP was 0.5% a month, and now all of a sudden it's at 4 or 5 or 6% a month, you can make some pretty good assumptions as to where your increased population is coming from. There has been some concern that the county executive's office may not be able to get all the information that we ask for in reporting. I gotta tell you, Dan McCoy's office has been the only one that has stood up for the communities in Albany County. And if the county executive's office says to me that they're gonna make their best faith effort to get us data that we can use to determine trends and to be helpful in budget making, well, I'm willing to give them that latitude, and I put language in this bill that says that, is that it would be hereby deemed that the county executive's best faith efforts will be deemed satisfactory for purposes of this reporting. They haven't told me anything that is untrue yet, and they haven't made any promises that are, well, they haven't made any promises at all, other than there are more people coming. We joke from time to time.
Mr. Bergdorf, can you please wrap up? Because we're gonna, I'm sure, have some conversation here.
Sure we are. I'm asking you to report this to the floor for consideration. We've asked the council, the other respective councils, if they had any suggestions or any language they wanted inserted, and we haven't gotten any. That was a commitment that I made to the chair and to the majority leader. As an individual, and maybe the only individual here who is on the Audit and Finance Committee, this information is critical in putting together the 2024 and 2025 budget. This is not, it's not a partisan thing. I have quotes here, I won't read them to you, but this isn't just Paul Bergdorf saying we need information and transparency. It's the Schenectady County Legislative Chair, Anthony Jasinski. A little bit different than me politically. It's Assemblyman Angelo Santa Barbara. A little bit different than me politically, saying the same thing. I somehow thought maybe they had read our legislation. Even Paul Tonko. The fact that we were only informed of these actions by the mayor's office after the fact make them even more egregious. We were assured communication, collaboration, and support to our communities. This is our congressman talking, not Paul Bergdorf. So if you want to beat anybody up on a partisan basis, talk to some other people who have been as severely impacted and had the ability to say, we want information for our communities, even this Schenectady County manager. I'm going to leave it at that, and I could talk about this for hours, as you may or may not know, and I'd be delighted to respond to any questions or concerns that you have. But the first thing I'd like to do is just ask Mike, have I correctly articulated my discussions with you about the legislation and your willingness to get us the best data that you can possibly get out of social services?
Yeah, the best way of putting it is, and I spoke to the commissioner before the meeting, is that this information is public information. It's no different than any other information request from the legislature. We'll provide it to the best of our ability there is, and I've expressed to the sponsor concern related to the ability to track anything related to, as it's termed in the resolution, newly arrived persons. But certainly anything that has to do with the trends related to the benefits that are afforded qualified individuals, that's information that can be tracked and can be provided on a regular basis. Actually, I think legislators ask for, zip code data and things like that.
And to be clear, Mike, just to clarify that, in our discussion, what you can provide is the base numbers of how many people are taking advantage of these services
Correct.
currently and moving forward. It does not in any way differentiate who that is or where they come from, where they're located, anything like that.
Correct.
And it also does not.
We'll have a challenge,
We have
so-
no idea if there are any of these newly arrived people, or which includes homeless people.
Not only that, but there's no actual means within the WMS system, which I've told everybody at this, sitting here many times, is a rather antiquated system to classify folks in that way and then generate a report on it. So the challenge is that, and then of course, when someone walks in, you know, differentiating between whether they got off a bus from New York City, if they got here on their own, or any other host of different factors is going to be basically nearly impossible. So those are the limitations, but you know, there does seem to be a clause that says to the best of our ability, and we certainly will do everything to the best of our ability.
But to be clear, the best of your ability is the numbers as they currently exist, which is non-inclusive of any differentiation or separation by status or anything like that.
In all likelihood, yes.
So any change in numbers would require some sort of speculation and or conjecture to determine where the difference came from.
Yes, in all likelihood, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin. Ms. McLaughlin, I know you had
Thank
a
you.
question.
I guess my question I had in reading this, even in one of the resolves toward the end, actually the first one, you talk about a newly arrived person, and then it gives a definition, shall mean migrant, asylee, refugee, or any other non-citizen person or homeless person. Now, I would assume that all these people are homeless people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming here looking for a place to live.
It's kind of like a square is always a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't always a square. Obviously, everyone is homeless.
Everyone is homeless.
Everyone is homeless.
So you can't.
However, there are different populations, and like I said before, we don't know if the people that are being sent up here are coming out of homeless shelters.
And who's
here.
gonna tell you that?
Well, I don't know.
Are they gonna tell you that they
You know
came
something?
from a homeless shelter?
I am of the belief that given all that's happening around the nation, ultimately, and probably Mayor Adams would say from our lips to God's ears, is there may be some federal revenue stream for this. And if there ends up being a federal revenue stream for this, somebody's gonna figure out a way to count the new folks, okay? Because if
The way the
if you tell
federal
them-
program works
excuse me.
currently is that they do, when leave out the homeless, the migrant, asylee, refugee come to this area, they're given 90 days, as I understand it, of support. And then after those 90 days, then I've been told, then they become our responsibility, the county responsibility. And I guess my issue.
Carolyn, may I ask you where you got the 90 days from? Because nobody has been able to definitively say
From
that.
the local RISE program that, it's right here in the city of Albany. It's a program that's run in West Hill, that takes in refugees.
And under this program, that
Not
they're doing
under-
it now?
A federal program, yes, under the federal program.
No,
yes.
this is not under the federal, this is
No,
under
no,
the
but
New York
the
City's
reason I say,
program.
the reason I bring that up, because someone mentioned, where's the money coming from? I would ask that we see, the money that Mayor Adams is providing, I would not think it's coming directly from the city budget, City of New York budget. I believe there is some federal funds. I stand corrected if so, but I'd like to have that question asked. And that's the only reason I bring that up, is because there's another revenue source that he's pulling upon to pay for those people. If they're not staying in New York and he's sending them here, and he's getting the money because that was their point of entry, and now he has sent them here, it would make sense that he would pay wherever they're going, because he's not using those funds. So that's my point of saying that. So I guess, and I'm not gonna belabor the issue, but I guess my concern was a homeless person versus everybody else as described. And so that's my only issue, because we have homeless people right here. And are we gonna count them differently? If they shift from one county to the next, how do they get counted in this number? Our own homeless population.
You wouldn't be counting them.
But my point is, because you cannot differentiate that the migrant, asylee, refugee, or any other non-citizen from the homeless. Because they're all homeless in my eyes.
Well, and to be clear, according to the resolution itself, a newly arrived person includes all homeless people regardless of status, as long as they come in through one of these two conditions. So they're treated the same.
Council, though, isn't the whole purpose of this to see the change, if any, in the cost to the county in terms of social services benefits? Not necessarily, this one person is homeless or this one person is whatever.
That may be
Because
the
according to
intent, but
Mr.
that's not what the
McLaughlin, we
resolution
can't
says.
identify them. So it's a matter of cost.
Mr. Cleary.
Yeah, I think Paul's thing is trying to document things, not where the money's coming or anything like that. I think the county executive's office and our departments are doing a great job. And when this discussion is done now, I'm gonna ask for a negative recommendation on this, because I think the county executive's office and our departments are doing a great job. And I appreciate what you're trying to document. So if we have to come back and get money from the feds, the state, whatever, I agree with that. But this, I don't think is appropriate. So I'll let the discussion go.
Okay, but
and
let
then
me
I'll
just
make
ask a
recommendation.
question, a negative recommendation. So you don't think we should try to find out where our increased costs are?
I don't think we should pass this one. No.
What, and why would that be?
Because I don't think it's clear of what you're trying to accomplish, and what my council has said to us, it is not clear. So I think
Okay,
maybe
but
another
it's
approach, I
clear-
believe
it's
what
clear
they're
to the
doing.
county executive.
I believe what they're doing their
Mr.
job,
Bergdorf,
and I believe they're doing that.
Please, I'll call on you if you
Yeah.
raise your
Yeah,
hand, but.
and if you want to speak, and I'm
otherwise-
not gonna make that recommendation now, but that will be my thing. And I think they're doing, the county exec's office, I think our department's doing a good job, and I think what you're trying to accomplish is a good thing. But I do not think that this is the way to go about it.
Thank you, Mr. Cleary. And if everyone, please don't speak unless
Who you ask?
unless you're called. No, for you, Mr. Cleary, no, thank you. But General, Mr. Bergdorf, others, please raise your hand if you'd like to speak. I just want to say, I think we need to recognize who these people are. These are human beings. They're fleeing oppression. They're coming here for a better life for themselves, and they're following a legal process to seek asylum. And Mr. Bergdorf, I took issue in the way that you framed it around saying Mayor Adams said they're coming to your neighborhood like it's a threat, like they're coming in to attack us.
I didn't say it, I just reported what
That's how.
what it said in the newspaper.
The way you framed it to me seemed like we were supposed to be scared that they're coming to our neighborhoods.
No.
When I'm happy they're coming to our neighborhoods. New York City does have thousands of migrants coming in right now. They're doing the best they can to address it, to ensure that they're providing the proper services and shelter for them. But we should do our part upstate too. It's a big state, so we should do our part here in Albany County and take in migrants, and we should be working to figure out how we can provide the best services for them, best shelter, and get them beyond shelter into permanent housing, into being productive members of our society. Which I'll add, they generally do. We're losing population upstate. We often complain about that. We hear that employers can't hire people. There's a labor shortage. This, I think, we need to view as an opportunity. Long-term, these migrants can become part of our community and contribute a lot. So, I view this as a political attack on migrants. It's a way to show that they're some sort of burden on our society. I don't think this is the proper approach. And be joining with Mr. Cleary when he makes that.
Yeah, and I'm not, I don't think Paul's saying that. I think Paul wants to document stuff. But I think the county executive's office and our departments are doing a good job with that. And when we're done discussing, I will again make the recommendation that we move forward with a negative recommendation. Ms. Larkin.
Ms. Locker.
She's the chairman.
I'm the chair, so Ms. Locker. It's
That's all, I
okay,
didn't wanna
Ms.
be
Just
rude.
want to
No,
make
no,
sure
it's
we're
okay.
not there. Mr. Chair,
I didn't want to say anything before you're done.
I appreciate that. I just want to say, for clarification, Mr. Bergdorf didn't say they're coming to your neighborhood. Mayor Adams said that, and he was right. Okay, that's very important, to not put words into his mouth that he thinks that, oh my God, the boogeyman. That is not at all that his legislation is talking about. It's a simple, it's dollars and cents right now. I don't care who it is that's coming. If they're gonna be on the rolls of Albany County Social Services, SNAP, any program, we need to know that, because the federal government is not doing their job in this area. I don't think, Mr. McLaughlin, have we seen a check from New York City yet?
No.
No, okay. So we don't know about all that, okay? We don't know what's gonna happen. I pray that they do. I pray the federal government steps in. I pray it's all for nothing. But there's nothing wrong with having information, which the county executive's office has told us, no problem, Mr. Bergdorf, we can work with you. We think we can provide as much as we're able to see where we're at. That's all this is about. It's not about whether you want migrants or you don't want migrants, or you like homeless people or you don't like homeless. It has nothing to do with that. It's about the cost of social services, where we're at, so we know what we have to plan for in the coming years on our budgets. It's as simple as that, in my opinion.
Ms. McLaughlin.
Okay, so the window or the clock starts ticking after this passes, or are you talking about a look back?
No, it starts 90 days
After
after
the
it
passage.
becomes law. Because
Up
that
until
gives you
December
90
of 25.
days for, if there are some people who are eligible after 90 days, they'll start to show up in costs, okay? Or you may see some impact in trends. If the county's paying for 120 days. There was an announcement yesterday in New York City that the mayor is backing his homeless program up to be only 60 days. He's backing away from the unlimited homeless housing that they have in the city. First time it's ever been considered. The problems are so bad down there. So we don't know that they're gonna pay for 90 days, 120 days, 150 days, 180 days. That's why I created staggered reports, which is very simple because simple for me. You have to go.
No, it's simple math.
Yeah,
Just
no,
start
you have to
counting.
go into.
So, and just looking at the calendar, and I understand what you're trying to do with that. I
Yeah.
really do, that's not rocket science. But I've got having a tendency to agree with Mr. Cleary, and in terms of a negative declaration, moving it out, there's no answer to this. There's no easy answer to this. Somebody's gonna pay, either it's New York City or it's us, but I would like to have seen something in here that talks about asking the federal government to take on a greater responsibility.
Well, that's not
Everything else is
my
in here.
role. That's the New
No, no,
York
no.
State Association of Counties, that's the New York
This
State
is
legislature.
our
that's
legislation,
that's
not the New York
governor.
State social. They may be doing just that.
And I just got a text from someone saying.
But I would like to see some of that. If there could be some statement, an amendment, that's what I'm just gonna go with the negative deck, because I really would like to see, because the federal government changed a lot of their policies, so why shouldn't they be included in this legislation to show that we're not only looking to take on our own responsibility, but they should have an increased responsibility if we're asking our taxpayers to take on this role of caring for folks that we are, as a sanctuary city, county. I don't know how far it stretches. I know Albany City is a sanctuary city. I don't know if Colony is a sanctuary town. And if not, then we need to, I think we need to ask the federal government, we need to get a comment from I heard what you said about Congressman Taco, but our senators, where do they stand on this as it relates to, what the rest of us are feeling? Especially if no extra funding is coming in to help us. So if we can do something, add to that. In the meantime, I'm going with Mr. Cleary on the negative debt.
Mr. Cleary.
Paul, what you're trying to accomplish is definitely something we all want to accomplish. He's not putting down anybody, he wants to document stuff, I think. I think our county executive's office is doing that, and our department's doing that. If they fail to do that, then we can express that at a different time. So I'm making a recommendation that we send this out with a negative recommendation.
Will I have an opportunity to talk again before we close off discussions?
I'd like to.
Briefly, I'll give you the opportunity.
Briefly. Carolyn, I have asked for input on this now for 3 weeks. What you just said was the only constructive input that I've received from 29 members. I must be Pollyanna because I somehow thought that every member of this legislative body would want to be in a position to plan to the best of our ability what this is going to cost us. But I'm seeing right now that everybody, if you don't look, maybe it just goes away. Well, this isn't going away, folks. What is 500 or 600 people now is going to be well over 1,000, 1,500 next year. We have 30 kids in the North Colony school system. Do we have enough teachers to do English as a second language? I don't know. What's going to be the impact on primary school councils and busing and the amount of buses? I don't know. But somehow I find it hard to believe that nobody wants to know. That it's because this idea somehow did not happen the right way. It can't be a good idea. I thought my Pollyannish self that we were going to have 39 co-sponsors. I thought that everybody was going to say, this would make sense, because this will help my taxpayers, my city, Albany, my town, Colony, my town, Guilderland, my town, the Hilltowns. Everyone pays taxes. Why wouldn't you want to know this information? It just boggles my mind. And in terms of, I haven't said a bad word about anybody. The quotes I've given you, and the quote that you reacted most vociferously to, was made by Mayor Adams.
I'm aware, it's more about how you frame the question.
Oh, so it's how I talk.
Yes.
I got it. Oh, all right, I understand. Now I
Yes, that's
understand.
the reference of how a vote is
The
used is
callousness shown towards these
Okay, but Mr.
individuals
Burke,
by
we're gonna-
Mayor Adams, by Congressman Taco.
We're gonna-
Are you mad at his
gonna-
callousness?
We're gonna move on.
The chair's seeking to move on.
Majority,
I'd like to do one comment.
okay.
Paul, we all want what you want.
No, you don't.
Yes, we believe the county executive's office and the departments are doing it, okay? We don't need to micromanagement at this point.
This is not
So my
micromanagement.
recommendation- that's
We have a budget and oversight role, Mickey.
We don't, I know, but we don't need to do that. I believe they're doing it now. So just don't put words in my mouth. I believe they're doing that job now, okay? So my recommendation is to send it out with a negative recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Negative declaration? Aye.
Yes, I said.
All against?
Nay.
Which one?
All against, same there, yeah.
I want it to go to the floor, so I will cast my vote, even though it's a negative, because I want it to go to the floor for a vote. And I want to explain this, because I am saying, I'm agreeing with you, but it's only to get it to the floor, because I
That's
too
fine.
cannot this becomes a moot point if everything you're saying is true, and I trust the county executive's office as well. It becomes a moot point, but right now, what's the harm in asking for information? That's great, we're gonna get information, we'll know what to do with it.
I think the harm is probably that it's already been clarified that you can't get the information you're asking for, and so any extrapolation from that is necessarily conjecture and speculation,
But that's not,
which is then going to be used to say those are from asylum seekers or potentially
he was very
homeless.
clear that we know that we can't do that, we can just see the.
Well, what are the
That's,
questions with the
that's
numbers?
not what was said here, that's
Yeah,
what
let's
you,
We did
that's
the
what
vote,
you
right?
said.
The vote.
So
It's gonna go to the floor.
Do we have the-
So, yes,
we'll go to the floor with negative recommendation.
Okay,
Before-
so pass the recommended for negative declaration, we'll go to the floor.
I want to make one more statement before we vote, and I think,
We
oh, you
already-
did vote, you
we
did
already-
vote.
The vote is done.
I'll let
Carolyn,
Paul.
if there is a statement that you would like to go in this, or a whereas clause, whereas it would be wonderful if the federal government paid for all this, I'd be delighted to put that in on the floor.
We've already,
Well, no,
Okay.
that's a message.
You can put it
we're
in.
gonna move on and we can have these conversations after, and I think we all should have some more conversations about what we can do to address this situation and make sure that Albany County is
It's reimbursed.
reimbursed, getting the money that we have and doing the best for the people who are coming here. And thank you, Mr. McLaughlin,
That
for coming.
issue's more than money.
We appreciate what the county executive's office is doing and both welcoming the immigrants, but also making sure that we're getting that information from New York City, working with them as closely as we can, so thank you.
Very good, thank you.
We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second. All in favor?
Uh,
Okay, this meeting is
Mike,
adjourned.
how is
Thank
it
you.